Just hang a Larry at the parkade and you'll find Max and George chirping. Welcome to Shift+F1, a podcast about speedy race cars. That, by the way, is Canadian for turn left at the parking garage and you'll find Max and George insulting each other.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's not very Canadian.
It's not. I was surprised that there is a idiomatic expression for insults. Chirping. Also, parkade.
Parkade, I like that.
Parkade sounds pretty cool. Makes a parking garage sound a lot more fun.
If anything, our sort of combination of video games and driving should mean that we should rebrand this podcast Parkade.
Okay, well, we'll consider it. Pretty good. At the TwitchCon, we had a Daytona USA set up.
Terrific.
Four-player, yeah. Also a 6-player Bomberman Saturn.
Nice
setup.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't you get 40 on that?
Or was it 10? I think it might have been 10. Yeah. Anyway, video game stuff, nerd things. I'm Drew Scanlon, joining me, Danny O'Dwyer. How are you, Danny?
I'm doing good, but by the end of this podcast, I'm not going to be doing too good. I checked the book. This might be the worst one ever.
Oh my!
This might be. Yeah.
I'm trying to think now.
I'll just leave it there.
Oh, I think I know what it is.
Okay. Well, answers on a postcard, folks. The grimoire is supercharged today. You'll have to wait until the end of the podcast.
Ooh, it's like a little Christmas present of tragedy.
Exactly. Clickbait has never been so grim.
How are you, Rob Zachney?
Well, not doing as well as it was moments ago before Danny told me that at the end of this, we're just going to have to hear about unadulterated carnage. I was like, how can there's only a couple things that are worse than Imola 94.
Yeah. Yep. And what else is going on this weekend? We'll get to that. If you are new to this podcast, a very warm welcome to you. And if you are new to Formula One itself, we've got a preseason primer episode just for you that assumes no prior F1 knowledge or indeed any racing knowledge and explains how this weird sport works and who everybody is. So if you'd like to go back and listen to that, that's episode 298. Also, this show would not be possible without our audience over at patreon.com/shiftf1, where every month we release an ad-free version of the podcast early, along with bonus podcasts and videos that are exclusively for our patrons that cover racing documentaries and films, F1 video games, experiments with other racing series, and a lot of weird things. So if you would like to support the show and get access to all that fun stuff, head over to patreon.com/shiftf1 or click the link in the show notes. What do we have going on this month, Danny?
We are going to be reviewing F1: the movie later this month. It's not out, and we were not invited to the premiere. Unfortunately, we were, but we could. We had prior engagements. This podcast, that's how dedicated we are.
It was just the drivers and us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yep. They couldn't. They're going to let Pastor Maldonado go in my place. That'll be the end of the month that's coming out, so we'll be cramming that one in late this month. But don't worry, we have our review of Ronin, the famous adventure, what do we call it? Crime, adventure,
thriller,
spy
drama.
Yeah.
It's got some cool car action in it, though. We talk about
so much
that
car action.
a lot.
So many Citroens get destroyed.
Oh yeah,
in that movie.
The Peugeot head count on this one is pretty bad. Almost as bad as this thing we're going to talk about later. And as a bonus to our Media Pass holders, I also put up this year's Shift F1 Turbo Attacks opening, which is when I get the Turbo Attacks from the previous year. Those are the weird collectible card game thing that they do for Formula One every year. And open up.
Is that a game?
Package.
Can you actually play?
You can play it. Yeah,
oh, okay.
I got shiny George Russells that would love to crush your
spoiler.
Your basic Lando Norrises. I was looking for the pack here. I don't want to spoil it. I got my favorite card was the last card I got because I got this.
Great.
I got a tin pack that had some special shiny ones in it. So if you want to see which classic driver I got a shiny of right at the end, go check out that video if you're a Media Pass holder over at patreon.com/shiftf1. And a massive thanks to all of our incredible title sponsors, the Chicken Finger Pita, Mad and Harmony, Deange, It's a Me, Ferrario, Get Rich, O'Die Ryan, Agave ATX, Cypress Training, Turf SCS, Kikaha of the Arts, sponsored by Petrochemicals, at Team Blackjack, Michael Maves, Yuki Needs a Cigarette, Telemetry Deck, the movie. FTC, Drew Stewart, Bailey Foote. All 4 Matrix films and the Animatrix hold up. That's Jason Chadwick using their name to tell us an important update. Hey, look, no one was saying anything about the Animatrix. I think Matrix 3 is the only one that I'm not so. But Rob tells me it's.
I think it's underappreciated.
I agree with that.
We'll just have to see.
We'll just have to see. Abraham Getchell, f1.bunnycrimes.com, which I did check and does redirect to the Shift F1 website. Thank you very much, Bunny Crimes, for that. Snigs, Alex Goucher, Max Valtar, Jeff Foster, Troy Stammer, William Rumpf, Lachlan the Madden Man, Oppressive Petro Estates, Samurai Love Story, and Jason Kelly. Thank you all so much. This might be the best week of people editing their names on Patreon and confusing all the other creators that they that they pledged to in a way just to have us have some japes at the start of this podcast. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Can't wait for Brad Shoemaker to read f1.bunnycrimes.com.
So, quick thing, just about the F1 movie. First of all,
yeah,
did y'all see that they led the Apple like WWDC like presentation, the keynote led with a really horrible F1 movie bit?
No. What was it? Did Brad come out?
No, it was not him. It was imagine Tim Cook being on the pit wall as they're doing test laps, doing laps around the Apple HQ.
Oh boy.
And now and Tim Cook has the charisma of like a particularly loathed substitute teacher. And so the bit like was already too long, but it kept going. It was pretty dire. The other thing, I did not realize this, and I'm curious if you were aware of this. My old colleague from Waypoint Renata Price pointed this out to me. Are you aware that in the F1 movie, Brad Pitt's character is 61 years old, same as Brad Pitt?
61. Wow. He's got amazing neck muscles for a.
They do call it. In the trailer they make a lot of old jokes.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was supposed to be that old though.
Yeah,
I thought he was supposed to be like an Alonso analog.
Yeah, 40, 45 maybe if we're pushing it.
Right.
This was my assumption that they were just like it's Brad Pitt, like kind of ageless. Like what the hell? Like yeah, he's like same as Cary Grant,
do some
right?
de-aging.
Like, yeah, he's in his 40s or something. Who gives a shit? No. They're like. In the story, a major plot point is that he is the same age as Brad Pitt. That he was an up-and-coming driver in the 90s and had an injury. And, like...
So who's the analog? Who is the real... Name. Who's the real analog?
Schumacher?
Is he... Would he be...
How late was Fangio driving?
Oh, boy.
Oh, I don't know.
Like, because I think he's the only guy who was like winning championships and like races into his 50s.
Well,
but it's very like I guess I kind of admire them. Just like I guess we just have to own the fact he's 60 years old rather than just pretend he's like a perennial 40. But at the same time, it's kind of funny because I remember we had this news story like last year or so where the FIA was starting to try to like. Traditionally, they haven't taken people's licenses away, like alumni racers, because it's like we don't want to. Nobody wants to have the conversation with Grandpa about like when it's time to maybe surrender the car keys. But there are now so many old racers going around who still have like super license qualifications, and they're getting increasingly up there. That like the FIA started to be like maybe some of y'all should not be behind the wheel of some of these cars, and like that's about like the age group this movie is talking about. But yeah, I had also assumed he was a Fernando Alonso analog. No, this is like if Fernando stayed in for another like decade and a half.
It's sounding more and more like a Will Ferrell movie, where it's like a comedy or something. Fangio's last race, he was 47, I believe, when he raced last. So even he didn't push a half century. And I have watched this Apple promo video. Hilariously, they were racing on the top of the Apple building campus, which is
a circle.
It is. It is closer to an oval than it is a F1 track. So, yeah, exactly.
Famously, a perfect circle.
Yeah.
Let's put that in the show notes. See, so everyone can see. That's weird.
That's weird.
But great. This movie's this movie's gonna be. I don't know that we'll actually make June for this because it comes out at the end of June.
Yeah, we hardly ever do.
I might be gone. Maybe we should. Yeah, maybe we should talk offline. See if we can do something.
Or maybe we can just do two posts, like two movie. Like we just like get on a phone call after we watch it. Like we have straight from like we in the our respective lobbies, theater lobbies. That's version 1, and then when it drops on Apple TV, I'm sure it'll drop there first. We can hit it again.
Do I want to watch this twice? Is that what you're asking?
I'll bet you will. What are the? There's no way this is an instant classic.
It's got your one in it from Ireland, so that would be cool. She's got her Irish accent on as well, so
yeah. I'll bet she ain't 60 years old.
No, I bet, but you know what? That's still an age inappropriate relationship. I bet. Bet he's still 20 years older than her.
Yep.
Because movies.
Because F1, Danny, it's back. It's coming back in 2026.
Breaking news: F1 will return next year. They did it, folks. Our long national nightmare is over. They have really revealed a calendar. The first thing they did last night, I don't know how this happened. I got a push notification on my phone. That's how bad they know that I want to see what the calendar is next year. Mostly so I could go to the website and search for the word Barcelona to see if they actually kept it on the calendar. They did, but they don't have a name for it yet. So Madrid is going to be the Spanish Grand Prix, but they are keeping Barcelona. The last year it had on its contract was next year. So presumably this is the last year we will see it for a while. Very sad about this. Like I said before, this is not all that strange for Spain. We used to have Valencia on the back of Barcelona as well, so they've had double races there before. I suspect they'll call it the Catalonian Grand Prix, which will piss off a lot of Spaniards, and I think they should do that. That'd be very funny. We'll have to find out. Anyway, big changes to the calendar next year. Not all that many changes. We still have 24 races. They have put in Madrid. The head that is taken is Imola. So Imola is out next year. I mean, Imola sort of only came back in the post-COVID era. It was a bit of a COVID year gimme when a lot of the tracks weren't able to operate, obviously. During the pandemic. So we sort of had it back for a while. I think having covered it now for a few years, it struggled a bit to make some interesting races, although we've plenty of races. Do you have the form book there, actually? Is that what you're taking a peek at? No, it's not.
No. Would you like me to?
Yeah. Give me a little look on what Imola was like for the past few years in your form book.
Okay. Will do. Let me pull it up.
But the biggest change is the one that we have been screaming for them to do for the past, ever since we started this podcast, which is move Canada out of the middle of Europe, you psychopaths. What are you doing? They finally did it. Probably, I don't know if the issue was Monaco maybe this whole time, but Monaco has shifted from its traditional... I mean, it's always been the end of May, start of June, and now it's like a week into June. So June 5th to 7th is when Monaco is on. I think traditionally it would have been on the end of May, usually in this type of year format. But it basically means that the European stuff is all together. Pretty much all of it's together. So we're starting in Australia again because of Ramadan one more time. Then China, Japan, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. Then we're over to North America with USA and Canada. Canada will be on the week of the Indy 500, so we will not have that clash between Monaco and the Indy 500, like we've had the past few years. There's also a significant gap here now between USA and Canada. There's a 3-week gap, which is probably not ideal, but I guess to get everything else working, that's the one big gap that we have. Then it's Euro time. Monaco, Spain, Austria, UK, Belgium, Hungary. Then the mid-season gap, then Netherlands, Italy, Spain. So that is Europe together at last, the Eurovision.
And Azerbaijan.
And Azerbaijan, apologies. Famous European city, Baku, will be in the previously the European Grand Prix.
That's right.
Will be there. And then it's a little bit messy. We go to Singapore, which I guess is not... it's closer to Bahrain or Baku than most of them. And then it's USA, Mexico, Brazil, USA for Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. So
this is the sanest
yes
this calendar has looked in a long time.
For sure. And getting Circus Gilles Villeneuve out of the way, which we're going to talk about today, of course. Great track, great race, great city, but it always felt a little bit weird having it wedged in with all the European stuff. So, yeah, makes a lot more sense now. There we go. And we got Barcelona next year, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, I had rated this year's race at Imola a 3 out of 4 for entertaining.
Yeah.
Before that, I rated it a 2 for a strategy race. In 2023, we had it canceled due to flooding. And then in 2022, I labeled it a rare 1 for a procession.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Only Japan this year has gotten that rating. Yep. All right. Well, I'm curious to see the Madring asterisk subject to FIA circuit homologation.
What'd you call me?
But yeah, I imagine that'll happen. All right, a couple of quick hits in the news here. The FIA has approved Red Bull's super license request for Formula 2 driver, how to pronounce? Arvid?
Yes, I was wondering if you had trouble with that one.
Arvid Lindblad.
Yeah.
He's British. And he turns 18 on August 8th, 2025, meaning that he would normally have to wait 2 more months before reaching the minimum requirement age to be eligible for an F1 super license, which is required to compete in F1. But Red Bull basically pointed to Kimi Antonelli and said, can we do that? And the FAA has said, yeah, sure. So he's entering the pool of reserve drivers for Red Bull, which is something that they've they started this process before Max Verstappen got dangerously close to a race ban. But now he joins the pool of reserve drivers along with Ayumu Iwasa, who's currently competing in Super Formula.
Yes.
So if Max does get that ban, someone is going to step in.
Well, and also,
and they need the points.
Thinking about okay, well, Tsunoda's not doing it. Lawson out. Like, I'm imagining there's like this famous piece of Warhammer 40K art, The Emperor's Thirst, that shows all the psychers being fed to the Emperor and sacrificed to keep him sort of undead on his golden throne. And like that's just Helmut Marko with young drivers.
Right.
Where it's just like we have to buy him another year of life. Let's get another promising open wheel racer out here and feed him into the maw.
I was thinking like of an Aztec pyramid and them saying like eventually the gods will be satisfied, like throwing people into a volcano or chopping their heads off or whatever. Yeah, we'll have to see. Lindblad's been doing good in F2. I think he's 3rd at the moment. Won the feature race last week as well. So yeah, I think their FIA is happy giving super licenses to drivers who have exhibited like consistent, good racecraft, fair racecraft, and he passed the sniff test as it were. But yeah, I mean this second seat situation is it's a farce at this stage. It's just completely ridiculous. And,
I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again. Like I don't think it's ever happened. I doubt it ever will happen again. Where you've got a car and a driver with such specific preferences that the car is undrivable for anyone else, but like this one ace.
It's very bizarre.
It's not a good strategy as a team.
Yeah, for the constructor for sure. It's nightmarish.
Rob, you might have to find that Emperor's Thirst image for the show notes. I'm striking out. Other quick hit here. Haas is marking their 200th Grand Prix by reverting to their original gray livery.
Ooh, is it going to have rich energy written all over it?
That thankfully was not the original. I think we do have an email about this too. So I think it looks good. I'll put this in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I saw it. It's the one on the right, is it? In the race fans post. Canadian Grand Prix livery. Oh no, I see it there. Yeah. It looks good. Yeah, I like it. I like a matte flat. There's a new sort of I don't know, style in some car paint that is sort of like a bit more matte, bit more of a, I don't know, like less shiny and less punchy or something, like flatter, and I'm way into it. I love all those cars that look like that.
I think the Haas with the white is it's too much contrast. Like it's kind of an assault on the eyes, but this is with the gray, I think it just blends a little nicer.
Yeah, I like it. They won't see them coming, you know?
That's right.
Don't think there is a good Haas livery. I'm looking at it. No, hang on. I'm sorry. Their Japan livery was very good. Senpai.
Yeah.
Like that was a great livery. But as far as the thing is, the gray livery gives HRT or Marussia vibes from that doomed year where all those teams were just like sacrificed to F1 and none of them could find advertisers because like they're entering just as the global economy was like cratering.
Yeah.
So like it always like their old livery looks a little bit like, are you guys a real F1 team? And not in the cool way that like the Braun livery like looks.
Yeah.
And yeah, their new livery is just very, very bland. I don't know. They always look a little bit like kind of a shitty NASCAR livery.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's it for the news, such as it is. Thank you for dropping the calendar, because really saved our news section here. Not a lot going on ahead of the Canadian Grand Prix. I think everyone is just taking a breather. But that's it for the news. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with the track walk for the Canadian Grand Prix. All right, Danny, take us to the Great White North.
Canada. That's all I know. Was that even it? I can't even tell you.
Sure.
We're back, folks. We're back at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, named after the great Formula One driver who did win the first race here at Ile de Notre Dame in 1978. Of course, Ile de Notre Dame. Named
That means Island of Notre Dame.
It does, sure. Notre Dame. How dare you, sir? How dare you on this European sport podcast predominantly? Ile de Notre Dame is, of course, the island in Fair Paris that Notre Dame resides on in the teeny tiny Seine River. The St. Lawrence River is much bigger, but they decided to stick an island on it.
That's how we do it in North America.
Back when we used to make things. In the 1967 World's Fair, they were like, let's make an island. They did it. They made an island. They filled it full of shite. And then eventually they were like, what do we do with this? What do we do with this thing that we built, this island? Let's turn it into a Formula One track, of course, or like a park. And then, once a year we'll turn it into a Formula One track. And that's what they did. Now it is known as Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It is a very popular track, 70 laps. So...
That's a lot of laps.
It is a lot of laps, yeah. It's a punchy one. It's only got technically 14 turns in it. And they're a real mix. It's a 4.36 kilometers, 2.7 miles. And like I said, it's a fun track. It's fast. It's low downforce. There's not that much sort of height difference in it. It's relatively flat because it's on an island, which makes sense. But it has a mixture of both flavors of Formula One. Fast turns and hard braking zones. So there's a hairpin at the end of the start of Sector 3. There are some punchy braking zones, which are usually good for overtakes, of course. Across the track, there are 3 DRS zones here. There's a double on the back straight, front straight, as we approach the chicane that leads to the Wall of Champions, known that way because of all the champions, predominantly in the 99 Grand Prix, when Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, and Michael Schumacher all smacked into it in 1999. But of course, over the years, many other drivers have hit it. It is a basically the wall on the outside of the chicane that you were most likely to rub up against if you cook it a little bit too hard into that chicane. The escape road there has often become a point of contention. There is a bollard that they put out pretty close to the inside wall to make sure that drivers don't take much of an advantage going through there. And it seems to have largely fixed that problem. But yeah, this is a great track. This is I love it here. There's often good overtaking. There's often interesting weather over the course of the weekend. And just a couple of, I guess, interesting things that have happened over the years here. In 1991, there was a famous Nigel Mansell race where on the final straight before the Wall of Champions, his car just stopped working. He was coming around to win. He had like just the chicane to finish, and his car turned off. They brought it back in the garage and it immediately turned back on again. So they were like, we don't know. Must have overheated maybe and some electrical gremlin happened. The 1998 Canadian Grand Prix, in a year of weird starts, 1998 was also the year that Spa had its crazy start when David Coulthard, there was the big thing, and then they restarted the race and a bunch of people crashed again. It was just like ridiculous. I think maybe the double start in the Canadian Grand Prix in 98 might be more, it's not as bad, but it might be funnier. Yeah, so there's a bad crash on the, somebody flips, I don't know, is it Truly or someone? Somebody flips on the first turn, on the first start, and the second start is like if you got a bunch of like iRacing nerds and put them in the cars and saw how they did in real life. Like, and I'm not talking about the ones who are actually, your Jimmy Broadbents. I'm talking just, talking about me or someone. Yeah, it's like. Yeah, this I remember watch the second stars, you will, by the end of it, you will just be laughing. It's just so stupid. It's ridiculous. It just keeps getting great. Keystone Cops worse and worse. It's very, very silly.
Yarno Truly.
Was it Yarno Truly on the first?
Well, I was just remembering his name.
Yeah.
I always thought Yarno Truly, it sounds like something that a pirate would say to you when you ask him he's lying. Yarno Truly.
Wow. There you go.
Thanks.
Thank
you. Listen, we got to pad this podcast out. There's no news.
Fair. I was about to make a terrible pirate hook for hand joke here, but I won't. Robert Kubica had his terrible crash here in 2007. You may remember this. This was not the one where he badly damaged his hand. This is the one where he walked away with a sprained wrist, I believe, but it is gnarly. He catches some air because he eats his own front wing. He goes straight into a concrete wall. The car flips a bunch of times. It ends on its side. And thankfully, Kubica was able to. I don't think he walked away from it, but he survived it at least and came back. Hamilton had his funny crash in the pit lane here in 2008, where I think it was Kimi Räikkönen was stopped at the end of the lane. And Hamilton just didn't read the lights right and just crashed into the back of him and ended his race, ended Kimi's race as well. And then I won't say who won it or what happened, but if you have not yet, I feel like every year I say this, if you have not yet watched the 2011 Canadian Grand Prix, just, slip on
just
some.
go do it.
Just do it.
Just if you've got F1 TV, just go browse to it and
have a good time. Do not be scared. When you start the race, the run time will probably be 4.5 hours or something.
Oh yeah, you can skip all the red flags.
You can skip significant parts of this race, but watch it all. Or I'm sure F1 have like a race in 30 of it or something with that'll.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, it's such a good time. It's like it's Roy of the Rovers. I don't know what the American thing would be, but it is anime. It is like just pure. It has a storyline that goes from start to finish. There's a bunch of interesting side plots, and the last lap is terrific as well. It's a great time. So yeah, 2011 race. If you have an opportunity, go watch it.
All right. Well, based on my statistics, people who tend to do well here at the Canadian Grand Prix circuit, Gilles Villeneuve, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Nico Hülkenberg, and what do you know, Lance Stroll.
Well, if he's there this weekend.
That's true. I guess we don't know whether he is going to be able to drive that car with his broken or previously broken, but now flaring up hand.
Yeah, he's that mysteriously hurt itself.
That's right.
So, who are they? Are they talking about who might replace him?
Drugovich was, I think, the
Felipe Drugovich.
candidate,
Okay.
yeah.
Lando Norris statistically has not done great here, but he, hasn't always had the best car on the grid. But now he does. Aston Martin tends to do well in Canada. Last 5 victors: Verstappen, Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel.
Nice.
Not the highest DNF rate. We're looking at on the last 5 races, average of 2.5 DNFs or 15%. That's I've got 15 out of 32 of the tracks that I have in my database here. So it's halfway on the DNF list. I've rated this race. Let's see, the past 3 years, entertaining, strategy race, entertaining.
Cool.
So it's not a given, but it can yield some good races. Let's see, weather-wise, you never really know what to expect in Canada, but it looks like we have 5% precipitation across the weekend. Yeah.
No.
I know.
Il pleut.
Temperature-wise, we're on a qualifying day, 71 Fahrenheit, 22 Celsius, climbing a little bit to 75 Fahrenheit or 24 Celsius. And light wind, we're looking at like 5 miles an hour or, 5 or 6 kilometers an hour over the weekend as well. In the championship standings, let's run them down here. Oscar Piastri is on top of the Drivers' Championship with 186 points. That's 10 points ahead of his teammate Lando Norris, who himself is 39 points ahead of third place Max Verstappen. Verstappen is 26 points ahead of Russell, who's 17 points ahead of Leclerc in 5th, 23 points ahead of Hamilton in 6th, 23 points ahead of Kimi Antonelli in 7th, who's only 6 points ahead of Alex Albon in 8th. And then a bit of a gap, 21 points back down to Isaac Hadjar in 9th, who's 1 point ahead of Esteban Ocon in 10th. Then we've got Hulkenberg 11th, Stroll 12th, Sainz 13th, Gasly is 14th, Tsunoda is 15th, Behrman 16th, Lawson 17th, Fernando Alonso 18th, and then the drivers without points, Gabriel Bortoleto, Jack Doohan, and Franco Colapinto. In the constructors' standings, McLaren is on top with 362 points. That is 197 ahead of second place Ferrari, who are only 6 points ahead of third place Mercedes, who themselves are 15 points ahead of Red Bull in 4th. And wow, that is just, it's such an interesting championship scenario here with Verstappen up there and Red Bull back there. Williams is in 5th, 90 points back from Red Bull, but they are 26 points ahead of Racing Bulls, who are in 6th. They are 2 points ahead of Gene Haas and team, who with this new livery, who knows, could overtake them and claim 6th place. That's wild. That's amazing. Haas is 10 points ahead of Sauber in 8th with that miraculous finish by Nico Hulkenberg last race. They are tied on points with Aston Martin in 9th, and then Alpine is bringing up the rear in 10th. All right. If you want to join the standings yourself, you could do so using the link in the show notes for our fantasy league. Or you can send us an email also, shift+F1podcast@gmail.com or fn.cool/emails. Rob, do you want to take us through some emails that we've received?
Absolutely. So, related to the theme of special liveries, Anonymous writes, Haas's special livery for the Canadian Grand Prix is the first Haas livery I've liked since the Rich Energy days. Red Bull's all-white Japan livery was pretty great as well. Last year, McLaren's Senna livery was an all-time favorite. It seems like these special liveries are always an upgrade. Why not just keep them? Or why not start the year with these better versions? So, I think there's a couple things. One, do we like them a little more because they're just different? They're a nice change of pace. Like, would we have thought that Red Bull livery looked so fresh if we weren't kind of already acclimated to the standard like dark blue Red Bull livery? But I am kind of with you. Like, I'm haunted by the yellow Ferraris, the yellow Ferrari livery, which was just like absolutely glorious. But I think being someone who watches IndyCar, for instance, after a point, if you can't like easily tell at a glance who was where, the sport gets really hard to follow. And I think these teams have really invested a lot in like having sort of iconic, striking colors and just an overall look. You know, I kind of rolled my eyes at it the way that the Zach Brown era McLaren went all in on this papaya thing, where it's not orange, we're not an orange car, it's papaya. But at this point, I kind of have to hand it to them. Like, I look at that color and it's like, yep, that's McLaren. And now in any series, you see that, and it's like that. There's the McLaren team. And meanwhile, when I watch IndyCar, I have no idea who is where because their liveries change week by week. Now, admittedly, they aren't doing special liveries. They barely have liveries. They just have like sponsorship colors. So it's not really a full livery because, like, you know. The way I put it in F1 is the cars do have liveries, and then you put sponsored decals on it. In IndyCar, the car is a billboard, and they just like paint. They change what the billboard looks like.
Yeah,
but I tend to think that why don't they just make the special liveries permanent? I'm with you up to a point, but I think that way also lies madness, right? Like I think. You know, if you've gone to the trouble of over a period of years establishing kind of an iconic look for your team, you kind of don't want to tear that up. And as someone who follows the sport, I kind of don't want the chaos of trying to figure out like, okay, who is that now?
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It is fun to see these, and I think I like them because they are occasional. I think the other thing is like livery in general, and maybe your friend Steve can fill us in here. I think it's a miracle that any liveries happen at all because you've got to please all of the advertisers and the team branding and all this stuff. It just seems like a Herculean task to come up with a livery for a car.
I also think that, like, I don't know, there were cooler ones, like Force India had a cool livery. Like, I think people, or at least had a striking color. Like, I think there could be more interesting colors that they could pick immediately. Like, we don't have a yellow team anymore. We did for a long time, or we do have like a striking green, for instance. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, we had a striking green
with the Aston,
the Sauber.
All right. Yeah, I you know what I mean? Like the sort of like 7-Up bottle green.
There you go.
Know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like but yeah, and some of this has obviously laid on the the sacrificial tablet of not having paint on the car so it goes faster. You can't say that about the Haas one because, like you said, this is like we're talking about it. There's a lot more white on the normal one than there is the current gray. But yeah, I just wish, like, I don't know, if there's a world in which they have to, soccer jerseys have to sell, right? It's all about merchandising. I don't think there's some of that with this, but like when you pick a weird color, old guys aren't going to buy a big yellow, overall or whatever. I wonder if that has something to do with it, just the age range of people you're trying to appeal to or something.
Danny, you want to read this next one?
Yeah, sure. Nick writes, Shifters. I want to say up front I'm a big Lando Norris fan. He's a good driver and a charismatic dude. I want him to win races, and I believe he can be a champion. Which is the exact same thing I've said about Daniel Ricciardo in 2016. Then Max showed up and takes control of the team. Red Bull shifts all the chips behind Max, and Ricciardo is never close to a championship again. Is Piastri now the Verstappen to Norris's Ricciardo? Are we seeing a younger, more aggressive driver push Norris aside just as Max pushed Daniel aside? Will we get Piastri championship run and Norris falling into the great driver who never won a championship? Obviously, this could actually be a Hamilton-Rosberg situation where they battle back and forth and both get championships. But something about the Norris-Ricciardo comparison sticks real hard in my brain right now. What do you all think? I think this year, I think we're all waiting to find out which one of those this is. And I think this year is the year we're going to find out. I think the Hamilton-Rosberg comparison is also quite instructive because, Rosberg, the year he won it, has talked about how he had to push himself to a place that he had never been before and how it was ultimately a place that he didn't like to be and a place that he could not do year after year. He was like, I sacrificed my family life, I sacrificed my mental health, I sacrificed everything in that year to beat Hamilton, and he won the championship and he retired. And I think that's very... I think that's very telling as well. And we know that Lando has, a tendency to break mentally under pressure situations in the past. He has certainly gotten better at that. His mentality has changed as a driver. He used to be a lot more sort of silly and jovial and stuff, and he's definitely a lot more serious now. But it's not something that comes naturally to him, I think. He's put himself in that position, similar to Rosberg. And obviously Piastri... is just sort of like the Iceman. He's very jovial and fun and can be when he's in the press conferences and stuff. But when it comes to driving, he doesn't have the peaks and valleys emotionally that you get with Lando. Max kind of does though. Max goes up and down too. He's just got he's an exceptional driver. But I think it's easy to make direct comparisons, especially when you're pointing at sort of the Ricciardo situation. I don't know if Ricciardo's ceiling was all that high in the end. We kind of never. The data would suggest that maybe he had a really good car at the start. I don't know. Like I feel like that's harsh saying about him now, but. He was in enough cars and had enough teammates that he wasn't beating over the years that I'm not so sure about Ricciardo's sort of overall skill when compared to other drivers. But I think this is, from everything I've seen, like Norris has a bit of a struggle this year, I think. I think Piastri is driving incredibly well. I don't see him mentally breaking. Whereas, I don't know. I think Norris, when he's in the lead, will feel that stress more than Piastri does in the lead, both in the championship and in a race.
Yeah. No, I think the only thing I would add is that I don't know if Max pushed Daniel aside. I think Daniel might have pushed Daniel aside, and we didn't really get to see both of them, push each other to be better.
Yeah.
Well, and the Daniel Ricciardo thing gets interesting in retrospect because the thing that really put him on the map was he was driving better than Seb in that car as that Red Bull was falling off what had been previously a sort of dominant form. And I think you're onto something, Danny. Like Seb may have also been in the early stages of his decline, and some of what made everyone sit up and take notice of Ricciardo was a little bit like he was outperforming a driver who was already fading a little bit in that car. And then, he got the hell out of Dodge once Max showed up. And, at the time, it was very easy to say he was sort of trying to escape what seemed like a situation with a lot of favoritism. But now it kind of reads as, he saw the writing on the wall. That his stock was high at that moment, and it was time to sell. The Rosberg example, and I think that's instructive in a couple ways too. It took Rosberg a number of years to finally get one over on Hamilton, and it took everything he had, but. No, I mean, it was always a lopsided contest. But I think we kind of remember it as almost like Hamilton shows up and Rosberg gets that championship and then quits. But no, Hamilton had beaten him twice before, and then Rosberg pulls one out. F1 championships are tough to win. They're demanding, especially if you're in a close shootout like that. And I think right now, I think we called fairly early that Piastri had all the earmarks of the type of people who do really well in F1, like enormous consistency, enormous ability to sort of be like, steady and level, dealing with whatever comes their way. Those are always advantages, when you're dealing with sort of the particular high pressures that exist when you're at that tier of F1. But I don't think it means that Lando can't do this at some point. Lando is a very fast driver. He does have weaknesses in his game, but if I were in his shoes, I don't think the Rosberg comparison is necessarily a bad one at all, right? It's in good machinery, you're going to have your hands full with your teammate. It will take a level of focus and commitment that you may have never had to maintain for an entire season in your career. But that's not to say you can't do it. Like, we know what that looks like. I don't think he's Valtteri Bottas to Lewis Hamilton. The matchup is closer there. But the Rosberg example is also kind of cautionary in that you might do it and might discover you didn't like doing it. It might. Right. It's definitely one of those at what cost type stories of a championship.
Yeah.
Drew, you want to read this next one?
Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Vealshanks write. I want to share my recent F1 race viewing experience. My wife took me to the Monaco Grand Prix for my 50th birthday this year.
Wow. Shout out to the spouse there. That's
yeah.
fair.
Just listen to the rest of this. I thought they were taking the piss, to be clear.
Okay.
I thought this email was a piss take.
Okay.
And while watching it on TV wasn't exciting, attending is quite a different story. We arrived in Monaco on a helicopter ride from Nice Airport, which of course is necessary. We started the race weekend by seeing several Ferrari, Sauber, and Haas team personnel at breakfast, including Lewis Hamilton's performance coach Anne, eating a few tables away from us. Then we moved to a yacht docked outside the Nouvelle Chicane to start qualifying day.
No.
The F2 sprint started things off with the winner partying on the boat next to us afterwards. Jack Doohan stopped by and I told him I had him on my fantasy team, to which he replied, "I'm sorry."
Jack Doohan, what a guy.
Once qualifying started, the energy level really picked up and hit a fever pitch during Q3. If you think traffic is only bad on land, we discovered it's even more chaotic at sea when heading back to the dock. The next day, we journeyed to a fancy suite overlooking Saint Devote to watch the race. David Coulthard hosted a Q&A and is a great speaker with witty banter and fun answers like, quote, "You just have to power through the casino tunnel and hope no one stopped outside," when emerging into the bright sunlight. We witnessed Lando's lockup into turn one on the first lap and saw Gasly limp back on three wheels. The rest of the race felt quicker in person, and perfect weather all weekend made each viewing day thoroughly enjoyable. We finished the day with the appropriately hyped up party at La Rascasse later that night.
Wow.
Overall, a fun way to see how the 0.001% watch this Grand Prix every year. Sadly, we could barely afford for just a mere 3 days. Was the best birthday ever.
Wow.
Wow.
Miss Shanks, I'm turning 40 next year, so I don't know if you want
a younger man.
Slightly.
You want to be a sugar mama? Dad does love him a veal. But I thought of course, took the helicopter. Oh, look, there's the F2 winner, Jack Doohan. What are you doing here? I was like, there's no way this all happened. Like, shit, this sounds awesome.
Maybe he got hit by a bike on the way, or got hit by a car cycling home from work, and this all just, he woke up in the hospital and was like, what? And you were there? And you were there? That sounds, look, there's a world in which you could go to a couple F1 races every year, or do an F1 race a year. Something might be said for just saving it all up and doing Monaco like the best way possible. You know what I mean? Just like going all in, as it were. That's crazy. I wonder even how they figured this out. Like, is there a company that does these? It sounds, if this isn't some sort of package deal, then she is also incredible at logistics, because this sounds like a lot of work.
No,
to
Mrs.
pull
Veal
this
Shanks
all off.
might be the package deal in this, in terms of like, you put all this, you got the helicopter, you found us a yacht.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The other thing, so again, Team Torque update. Did anyone see the David Coulthard hanging out with Sainz and Albon on a boat in the Monaco Harbor?
No,
That was good.
Another all-timer, dude. It was like 40 minutes. There was the, like, basically all the banter was so good. There was the part they did as like the dedicated show. And then we got the pre and post show chat as well, because it was all just super good. But it was genuinely, like, again, the ability of these guys to dig into the minutia of racing and preparation is incredible. Hearing DC talk about how, like, he was 7/10 back from pole at Monaco in his day, and now the entire field might be covered by like 7/10.
Oh, funny.
Pretty much. He's like, you know, his day, he was good at street courses because he didn't push it very hard. And he was like, but now you guys have to push it all the time. Also didn't know this. He rented his condo to Alex Albon when Alex was starting out. But then Coulthard got divorced and needed his condo back.
Oh my God.
And started razzing Albon about all the shit he left in his condo
Really?
and in the bedside table.
Oh, interesting.
When
Okay.
Coulthard took possession.
Wow. Okay, I gotta check this out. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's incredible. But Monaco, I was sort of thinking about this watching Monaco, and like, why does Monaco hit different than like the Gulf State, like in Abu Dhabi, for instance, you know? And I think it's because like the Gulf State stuff are these like astroturfed together like artificial theme parks, whereas Monaco genuinely just does look like heaven on earth.
Yeah.
It's wild. Drew, I don't think we've ever talked about this. Have you ever looked into the Coulthard aviation crash?
Oh.
You know, he survived one.
I may have looked at that Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
But I don't remember much about
There was
it.
an interview with him a couple of months ago I saw where he's talked about it before, but where they sort of dove into it a little bit. It was really interesting. I think he was very kind about the not laying blame on anyone's shoulders, because both pilots died in the crash. And it seems there might have been significant fault on their end in the emergency landing, but they had an engine failure. And yeah, the plane like burst into flames and flipped and everything. But him and his girlfriend at the time walked away from it, and then he raced in the Spanish Grand Prix soon after. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's pretty nuts. Yeah. Anyway, just I know as a pilot, might be interested in. I don't think it's ever come up before, but yeah, just David Coulthard, man, he is a superhero. That dude, Scottish Superman.
Yeah. I wonder if there was any communication lapses in the cockpit.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if they could, bit of role play maybe.
Yeah. Everyone go watch season 2 of The Rehearsal.
Have you finished it yet?
Yes.
You did?
It is. No spoilers for people who haven't
Yeah,
watched it
no
yet, but
spoilers.
it is incredible.
You were the one person I wanted to talk about the final episode with. Let's do it all
Yeah.
fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was mouth agape for that final episode. I could not
Yes.
fucking believe it. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Just gonna sit.
Sorry,
in silence.
I was looking at the pictures of the fuselage. I was like, this is a real ass plane crash.
It's a real ass plane crash. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's horrible. All right. Eminem DC write, the Spanish GP showed F1's increasing use of digital billboards placed above the barriers and over the track. This made us wonder how hard it would be to composite an entirely digital background around the cars, and would you watch a race in a pure CG environment? What about replacing everything like they've done with a Toy Story themed NFL or big city greens themed NHL games?
Oh,
I can feel this coming, and I fucking hate it. Like,
This is great. This is
sports
great.
broadcasts look like shit now because of
But all
it.
because all the fake billboard, the digital billboards.
Yeah.
Counterpoint, put them in the Wachowskis' Speed Racer.
Oh my god. I want the Nickelodeon one. Let's get some slime on that track. My favorite thing is whenever there's like any fog or rain, it totally messes all that stuff up. It just looks absolutely terrible because they can't, put the requisite blur or desaturation or luminosity because it's light, right? So you can't they'd have to have a 3D representation of the track then that they're underlaying and having the right
volumetric fog.
Yeah, it's just it wouldn't. Yeah, so whenever that happens,
get some Unreal Engine 5 going on.
Yeah, I don't know. That's they've already. Not to pine for the days of old advertising with like big Dunlop tires sticking out of the ground and dynamic fasteners and condoms.com written on the back of UFC shorts back in the old days. But yeah, this digital advertising stuff. I mean, I get why they do it because they can swap them for different regions and all that sort of stuff. But yeah,
I don't mind them when they're static, but as soon as they start being animated or, just taking attention away from the actual product, I think that's...
I think the problem is even if they're static, it doesn't seem like they have any capacity to get to the point where it's perfect and seamless. Like watching baseball. At this point now, every game pretty much has a digital billboard in the shot from looking down from the mound to the batter's box. And there's almost always a digital billboard there. And the way the shot is composed, the pitcher will be like going in front of that digital billboard, and they can't the flicker is ridiculous. The amount of like flickering and like processing they do on the shot makes it so that it looks like the pitcher's been sort of badly upscaled into the shot where everything else is real. Ugh. And similar thing with the NBA playoffs, where they have now got the court so crowded with digital billboards that like constantly you see like weird little shimmers and flickers around like the players,
including on the court itself, right?
Yeah. And that's the problem, is that it sort of feels like we're just dealing with they've sort of maxed out what they probably haven't maxed out what they can charge, but it's just sort of the limitless greed, right? Like the desire to just get more and more revenue. Where can we sell more inventory? And they're just coming up with new places for it that are increasingly impinging on the experience to the point where like now sport doesn't look real in a lot of scenarios. I'm kind of shocked. Danny, you know better than I would have assumed that soccer would be covered in digital billboards at this point because it's kind of resistant to commercial breaks. Yeah, it is. That's the bigger problem they have with soccer, is that you only have one break at the 45-minute point and then the game starts again. So they do a lot of overlaying on the actual billboards sometimes as well. But I don't see a ton on the pitch when I'm watching watching soccer. Yeah, there's no. The only thing they'll ever do is draw lines in replays for offsides and stuff like that. But no, there's never, not even in like an FA Cup final or a World Cup final. It's not like they do
I feel like I saw
do a special. No, they never did like draw anything special on the field. It's like pretty sacrosanct. I hope so. Yeah.
Do we just need to become F1 hooligans and riot whenever this stuff happens?
I think this is part like why I do think some of this. The waters are tested by doing fun shit like, we'll put more, informative graphics on this, get you sort of used to sort of a degree of artifice in the broadcast itself. And then now the whole thing's sort of a digital construct. So really, I do think like the Nickelodeon, football games, that's just like preparing the children to be good little consumers of advertising.
And then in the future, Singapore will just look like Rainbow Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they have to be really careful with this because the whole, like you look at the weirdness around streaming and people cutting the cord or not. The only standout is live sports, right?
Yeah.
And live sports are interesting not only because they're live, but because they're real. And so if you start making it seem fake in these sorts of ways, you're diminishing your product. And I don't, Don't advise it.
Yep. And I do think it is diminished. Like I think hockey looks shitty now compared to how it looked.
Yeah, hockey's a big one for sure.
So yeah, like I think there's onto something. Like I think we should resist this stuff. I think the second they try to place an ad on the track surface and have the cars go zooming over it, that's when we should start. That's when we should burn down the garages. Danny, you want to read this next one from Colin?
Sure. Colin writes, amid all the talk of the stupid things that the FAA is spending its time on under its ridiculous leadership, I think there's not enough talk about what they're not doing, keeping the racing good. The point with the 2022 regs was to allow cars to follow closely and worry less about dirty air. As part of that, the FAA was supposed to continuously update the rules to prevent teams from making car designs that affect the cars behind too much. Obviously, they have not done that, and we are back to cars having to back way off and having narrow windows of attack. Stop talking about V10s and cursing, write with regulations that make the sport cool. I mean, you're not wrong. I think that this also is part of Formula One's mandate, significantly as well, and is probably the technical aspect of the sport that has bamboozled folks the longest. Like, this is the big problem, and this is why we went back to sort of ground effect and trying to limit the craziness of the rear wings in particular, to stop casting so much turbulent air, as you said. And it's obviously something that gets sort of reset all over again next year anyway. So they run into this sort of, this, I don't know what it is, a production or research issue where, like, at a certain point, the current regs are sort of a sunk cost, and they should look ahead to the next year to see if they can fix it there. I'm not an aerodynamicist. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know about the ways in which to fix this, but they have had the smartest brains in the sport attempting to fix this issue for a while now, and they're not, it's better than it was for sure. Like, if you go back 6 or 7 years, we were in a really weird spot when it came to the inability to just follow cars on straights at all, without either ruining your tires or just not being able to close that gap. I mean, DRS was invented for this. The original KERS was used as a boost button to try and get around people in this situation. So I think it is better than it was. Cars are able to follow closer behind. They're still punished for sitting in someone's wake for lap after lap after lap. But yeah, I don't know, Rob, am I wrong that I'm not necessarily thinking about the FIA when it comes to this one?
No, I think Colin's got a point in that it kind of sucks that we've ended up back in this place, but again, the reference to that team Torque, Coulthard mentions this. He's like, it sort of seems like these regulations failed. And both Sainz and Albon were like, they didn't. Like, when the regulations came in, you could follow crazy close. It totally seemed to fix the issue. But yeah, the aerodynamicists will, whatever regulations you set, they will find a way to claw back performance, and that will make the cars once again sensitive to following too closely. And I think the way to think of it is, every time they put these regulation changes out, it's the product of a lot of study, right? There's a lot of, like, what are causing the issues? What are the things that we have to ban? They have to be really specific about, like, here's where we will allow you to design aero elements. Here's where we won't. It requires a ton of thought. And then within a year or two, the collective brain power of the F1 grid will have figured out a way to completely, like, blow holes in those regulations. And it's just tough to keep up in the arms race. Like, I think maybe this is the best we can hope for, is that we had a couple years dealing with that. Now we're kind of back to where we were before the regulations, but we're about to have new regulations come in. So maybe next year we'll sort of be back to a place where there's a little more competition. A little more fighting on track. But yeah, like, I think the sympathy I do have for them is that, it is way harder to seal up all the possible vulnerabilities in a set of regulations than it is to be the people trying to think think about ways of defeating those regulations. There's a saying in like aerial warfare doctrine that like the bomber always gets through. That if there is no air defense strategy that will prevent a bomber from eventually reaching its target. All you can do is reduce how many and with what payload, but you're never going to stop it all. And that's kind of F1 engineering. Like they're going, whatever you tried to stop them from doing, you can delay them achieving that target. They will get there.
Yeah, it's one of the. I bet that's a great phrase for that. I wonder if engineering there is a thing about this type of challenge, because like so much about engineering is not done under the sort of not constraints, but under the situation of this type of tension where the force that you're trying to resist is going to adapt to what you do. Like so much engineering is about like people flow or water flow or whatever it is. And like if you're designing an airport, you can design an airport for the people who are going to come into it. And it's not like then what happens is the people adapt and they decide not to follow your rules. Like the rule set and the problem is somewhat consistent. But the problem with sports is that because of the competitive aspect, ultimately whatever thing you enforce is going to then come in conflict with a new adaptive sort of attempt to mitigate those new rules or circumvent them in some way. So it's super. I think it like annoys us as humans because we're like, here's a problem, and we're going to use our smart brains to figure out this solution. And once we have that solution, we'll be okay. But the problem in sport is that you are constant. It's different to everything else. Most things in life, once you figure out the solution, we figured out like how to stop cars crashing into each other when they all reach junctions. We either put lights or a roundabout there. You know, it's not like everyone's then trying to circumvent those rules. But in sport, that's what happens. And I think what happens with us as humans is that we're used to finding solutions that are relatively watertight to these engineering issues, and then in sport when it's not that way, it's really frustrating. But there is something about the nature of sport which means that is just not, we're never going to get to that satisfying conclusion, and unfortunately in F1 it tends to be this one thing all the time, that and track limits.
Yeah. Should I take this last one from Levy?
Yeah.
All right, Levy writes, "Hey guys, this is my first season watching F1 and my first season listening to your podcast.
Welcome.
I'm having a great time watching the races and listening to you guys each week. Before the races even started, I wanted to find myself a team to potentially root for. I found myself just naturally gravitate to Williams, both through your primer episode and by just getting a good vibe from both Albon and Sainz and the team as a whole. Seems like my choice is paying off because Williams has been fun to watch. They seem to be a good middle to upper middle of the pack team, and Carlos seems to only be getting more comfortable with the car each week. Even though it's only my first season watching, I get a feeling that they'll make a good transition into the new regulations next season and maybe be a good threat. I'm just wondering what teams you guys like to support and how you decide on them. Love the podcast and loving this new, to me, sport." This is a great question. I think from a professional standpoint, I don't officially support any team in
Drew
particular.
is wearing a Williams Martini Racing hat right now, Levy. So you're in the same boat, maybe.
Yeah, I do like Williams. I think it's when I started watching, they were certainly the underdog, and I think, but. Well, that's not entirely true because I think they were getting podiums when we started this podcast with Bottas and Massa.
Wow.
I think for me, you got to just let it come to you. You got to just like watch and like so a driver will do something cool or a team strategy will do something cool, and you'll remember that and go like, "Oh, that was nice. I want to see what they do next time." And I think that's what drew me originally to Williams. Like I
drew you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I think I saw Bottas do something cool in a race, and their colors were easy to pick out. I like their livery a lot, specifically the Martini one.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I bought this hat when you and I went to Austin.
That's a cool livery, right?
Yeah, that was a cool
Come on.
livery. So yeah, I think you're probably getting a feel for it. You're watching races and you're taking note of who does cool stuff. And I don't know. You guys have any other?
I'm weird when it
Thoughts on
comes to sports because like the teams that I support, I have like deep connections with. Like in my home country, you obviously support your home county in
Sure.
soccer and Gaelic football and hurling and all that stuff. You don't just pick another team. My football team, Arsenal, I was a fan of my whole life, but then I went and moved to London and lived close to the stadium and went to games all the time. And like they are part of my heart. When it comes to sports I've gotten into as an adult, I have sort of, unless I have a strong connection, I have intentionally not supported a team. So I don't support a team in F1. I love watching the sport, and I have drivers that I really like, but I don't know. I see teams as like corporations. I don't necessarily have. They're not like Arsenal. That's like a place and a neighborhood and people, and so I don't. I'm the same with like UFC fighters or hockey teams or like and I'm now that way with baseball and football because I was a Oakland Raiders and an Oakland A's fan, and both teams have left Oakland, and I'm like, man. Well, fuck that. I'm not supporting the whatever Las Vegas A's in Sacramento or the Las Vegas Raiders. Like that's not what I signed up for. My team is gone now. So
The Ballers.
the ball
Let's go to a
exactly the
Ballers game.
Ballers, the Oakland Ballers. Yeah. Maybe I'll just get into what's that other one called? The crazy one that they're filling stadiums everywhere around the world. Savannah Bananas. Yeah, I get way into that stuff. So I don't know. I'll pledge myself to you don't need to have a team crowd as well. I do think it's a good idea when you get into a sport though to sort of limit your focus a bit. So I think that's really smart. But I wouldn't. It's not like this isn't like monogamous relationship, man. Play the field a little bit.
Yeah, I would just add like it's not so much the team, like the badge on the car. It's really the people. Like I think James Fowles is a really interesting guy, and I like hearing him talk. I can't divorce the team principle from the team a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. Like Red Bull and Christian Horner are kind of the same entity to me, for better or worse. So same with Zach Brown, Toto Wolff and Mercedes. Like it's. All right. Well, if you'd like to send us an email, you can do so at shiftf1podcast@gmail.com or f1.cool/emails. You can also hit us up on the socials using the link in the show notes. That's us around the internet. Do we want to take it around the world, Danny?
Let's race around the world. Yeah.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans
Wow.
starts on Saturday and goes through Sunday because it is a 24-hour race.
Wow. That's what that
So-
meant.
That's what that means. Yep.
Huh.
That's why you come to this podcast. The World Superbike Championship is at Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli for the Emilia Romagna round.
Nice.
The NASCAR Xfinity Series is in Mexico City at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the Chilango 150.
What's Chilango?
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up. How do you spell it? Chillango?
Just one L.
Of course. Chilango. Mexican
Indy.
slang for people who live in Mexico City. So it's like Paulistas for Sao Paulo.
Oh,
people.
great.
There you go. Chilango.
The IndyCar Championship is at the Worldwide Technology Raceway in Madison, IL for the Bomarito Automotive Group 500, parentheses, Gateway.
Bomarito.
Bomarito.
Is that Giant Bomb's feeder league?
That's right. Yes.
Thank you.
And we got NASCAR.
Yeehaw.
Also south of the border
Mexico.
in Mexico City for the
Hola.
Viva Mexico 250.
Hola, senor.
That's great. It's a non-oval track. Those are always fun. And Formula One kicks off Friday, June 13th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time in Canada on ESPNU, followed by Free Practice 2 at 5 p.m., also on ESPNU. Saturday, June 14th, Free Practice 3 is at 12:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2, and qualifying is at 4 p.m. Eastern also on ESPN2. But the race, everyone, Sunday, June 15th, 2 p.m. over the air on ABC.
Fantastic.
Well, that's what's going on this weekend. Danny, what happened on this day in the past?
Oh, boy. Direct shot by Rob, by the way. The worst disaster in motorsport racing history occurred today in 1955 when more than 80 spectators were killed at the Le Mans 24-hour race in France. A Mercedes driven by Pierre Levin was flipped into the grandstand after clipping another car in the straight. Levin was killed instantly. Mercedes immediately withdrew from the race and did not compete in motorsport again until 1987.
Oh my God.
32 years. The race was allowed to continue, and most fans in other parts of the track were unaware of the tragedy until afterwards. Cool. One of the most popular Grand Prix victories of all time occurred today in 1955 when Frenchman Jean Alesi took his only victory in F1. Really? Jesus. On his 31st birthday at the Canadian Grand Prix in the French-speaking city of Montreal, Alesi took the win in the red number 27 Ferrari, which was famously driven by the Canadian hero Gilles Villeneuve, after whom the circuit in Montreal is named. The win was a touch fortunate for Jean as gearbox problems dropped Michael Schumacher from lead to fifth. Late on, Alesi ran out of fuel on the slowing down lap, and Schumacher stopped to give him a lift back to the pits on the back of his car. I remember that famous shot. I cannot believe Jean Alesi only won once in F1. That is crazy. Absolutely nuts. There you go. I don't want to end on the tragedy of the 1955 Le Mans massacre.
People should go check out that cool animated short we saw about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that called again?
I think it's called Le Mans 1955.
Okay. Yeah. That was pretty harrowing.
I'll see if I can find a link in the show notes.
Did you guys see the trailer? I want to give a shout out to poke__egg over on Blue Sky for giving me the link to the trailer for Formula Legends.
I saw this just now, but I didn't hit play on the video.
You should check it out, my friend.
This is
a video game. The Future Games Show had it. It's coming out on PlayStation 5 and PS4. Imagine, if you will, somebody made a Formula 1 game with sort of old cars and new cars, arcadey, let's call it, and none of the sponsorship, none of the official licenses, but like, you can tell that's Yas Marina. And you can. I'll read out the tweet or the Blue Sky post because I'm not sure if they're actually using information from the game or not, but it sounds pretty funny. Featuring, you all need to see this, and then a link to the trailer. We'll stick it in the show notes. Featuring such autosport legends as Mika Laura, Malf Shoemaker, Bryce McLaughlin, Jack Stewie, and more.
Oh my God.
It looks fun. It's like a third person driving, it looks like.
Art of Rally vibe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For a minute there, I was hopeful it was going to be like a super stylized Grand Prix Legends, the Papyrus sim.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't believe nobody's done anything like that since.
I can't believe they haven't made F1 Race Stars 2, because that game was so much fun. The Mario Kart Formula, the official Formula 1 racing game that was like Mario Kart. I can hit pause on this on the track selection here. Like that is literally like it is Monaco. Like there's no like that is basically Monaco. Riviera Streets GP it's called. Ardennes GP. Anyone?
Mm-hmm.
What's that? First answer on a postcard.
What? Oh, that's Spa.
Yeah, Spa. Very good.
Yeah.
Old Prestige GP.
Silverstone?
Yes.
Wow.
Mont Royal GP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that Monaco?
It's Canada.
Oh, Canada. Oh, sure.
Temple of Speed GP.
Oh, that's Monza.
Yep. Golden Dunes GP.
Zandvoort.
Emirates. Oh, you're right. You're right. It almost feels better if you do it that way. Zandvoort, but it is the Dubai one, but they have it as Emirates here. Cherry Blossom GP.
Sure.
Of course.
Japan.
Suntone Stadium GP. Sunstone Stadium. What's the only track that goes through a stadium?
The Mexico Stadium.
There we go. Magnar GP for Hungary, Lion City Streets for Singapore, Roulette Streets for
Vegas.
Vegas, yeah.
Man.
So yeah, they're
This is great.
Yeah, it looks,
Formula
looks
Legends. Fun. It does look Art of Rally-ish.
Oh my God, there's more. I'm gonna. Bryce McLaughlin is here. Mickey Laura. I saw an amazing one a second ago. Mike Shoemaker, David Coulthard, Malf Shoemaker,
Coulthard,
Mick Hardfeld, and Gianmarco Fisicato, and this is my favorite one, Satomo Kato. they just swapped the first.
Ixnay, Oxnay.
Exactly.
Max Wuber. Yeah.
How, like, I don't, are you allowed to do this? Like, this is so on the nose. This is like
parentheses parody.
Exactly. Yeah.
I own nothing. Yeah. You're gonna play the game, and like I own nothing will appear. It's like, well, the lawyers can't penetrate that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Looks interesting.
Looking forward to this.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what the advertisers are in this as well. I bet there's a lot of fun, weird ones there.
All right. Well, it doesn't have a release date. It looks like just says wish list now. So
I will.
Sure. Yeah, coming soon. Oh, is there a demo? There's a demo.
No.
There's a demo on Steam.
Is there really? Oh my God.
That sounds like video content.
Bonus content. Yeah. I'll whip something up.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. If you'd like to support the show and get access to all of our bonus episodes, the early ad-free version of the podcast, and the official Shift+F1 Discord, you can do so over at patreon.com/ShiftF1. Have a good race weekend, everyone. We will see you all next week.